We felt really sad. I don't know how you felt. Yoko is here, Johanna is here, and we had really great moments together. And so the ending isn't good. So we must make another project to finish it in a good way, in a lovely way. Yes, let's start our presentation with Johanna. Let's introduce her. She is a great project coordinator, and also she has lots of experiences about everything, I can say, because she's working on different projects. And last year it was 8. Am I right? 8,
Yeah. Yeah.
8 or 9. So I think I don't know how many now, but she has
I
a lot
lost
of
the number,
experience.
to be honest. I'm not
How
counting
many?
anymore. I'm not counting. Not
It's
anymore.
better for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I
that's a
mean,
huge.
I was hoping to close some of them, but yeah, since all of them were like on hold, like ours as well, they got extended again and again. So yeah,
But
soon it will be almost over, I think.
I hope.
Yeah.
Okay, the microphone is on you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Johanna.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you, Bahar, for making this possible. I'm really happy to see friendly faces, of course, at least virtually, if not face to face. That's the only possibility now, sadly. So today we're going to talk about the flipped classroom, and yeah, let's go into this. I'm not really an expert on the topic, but I've been dealing with it since 7 years now. I started to learn about it because of an Erasmus project. We developed a course around this, and then, well, as long as you work with it, you become more familiar. And I'm sure that most of you already know this approach. I know that Yoke is using it in the Agora classrooms already. So I'm sure that in Lithuania and Turkey and Portugal as well, everybody's in Greece, of course, everybody is using it, especially because of the COVID period. And well, we all had to adjust and change a little bit. So as you know, this is not just something that can be done in one way. There are many possibilities of doing the flipped classroom, and we will slowly go on a path together, and let's say in a journey to learn how and why we must use the flipped classroom and how we can get there successfully. Um, because there is the need to change the educational approach we are using these days, especially because of the COVID and because of the remote learning, and because the traditional way of learning is no longer possible for many of us. Today we will a few words about me really quickly, and then we're gonna work on a Padlet. I put this Padlet especially because, we do know each other, but I saw that there are some people that are new and not part of our project. So it's gonna be nice to meet them as well, and also to see what's their motivation, why they are here. And of course, we will refocus and we will go back to find out why we became teachers, then to find out what's going on with the educational world today, what the flipped classroom means, and of course, how we can get there, how we can go to the flipped classroom. Um, so really quick about me. I graduated a very, very, very long time ago in Craiova, where I studied mathematics. I'm a teacher since 2004, so it's already a long time, I would say. But besides being a math teacher, I'm also a trainer, a part of Asociația Edu Lifelong. I started there in 2013, and we've implemented many projects. I'm also a scientist ambassador, and as I said, I'm experimenting this flipped classroom since 2014. And now it's basically your time. I will share with you really quick this link in the chat box, and feel free to answer the questions we have there. Just a second. I'm trying to get back to it, but
You can make it smaller.
no, I'm trying to send this into the chat box, but I don't have access to it anymore. I don't know why. Here it is. Sorry. Okay, so that's the link to the Padlet. Just click on the link, and then you will be able to edit. Just click on that plus and just write who you are, where are you from, why you joined this workshop, just to get a brief information about the expectations that the participants have, and to get to know each other a little bit. I think 2 minutes should be enough, and we will see. We will be able to see your answers as soon as they appear. Hopefully with my presentation, I will be able to clarify, I don't know, potential questions or issues that you might have, but just in case there's, I don't know, a topic or a field that I haven't reached, I will not be reaching during my presentation. Just feel free to ask in the chat box, and I'm sure that Bahar will be collecting the questions that you might have, and then we can find a time at the end to answer them. Okay, so I see that apart from Yoke, we also have Elif that's very experienced with the flipped classroom. And so that we have new participants. It's nice that you have joined us. I have shared a link with this Padlet. Please feel free to fill it in. Just click on the plus and then add your name, the country you're from, why you have joined us today.
Marco, you are good at English. Don't worry.
I wanted to say that he, he keeps complaining about his English, but he's quite good as we can see. He needs more practice in more practice from experiences. So more exchanges, more projects, and then he will be an expert in English.
He has been attending our online meetings for a month, so
Yes,
he has improved a lot, I think.
yes. Okay, I'm gonna keep the Padlet going. I mean, we will have it, of course, and the rest of participants can keep on writing, and I will continue my presentation just so that we don't have to stay for too long. I mean, it's a lot that I'm taking your free time and your afternoon today. As I said in the beginning of my presentation, we will also be talking about why we are teachers and the fact that we should all remember why we have chosen this career, let's say, or this path, because I think that being a teacher is more than just a career. And I am sure that when we joined, because all of us already have some experience in teaching, when we have joined this path, I'm sure that we were all we have been dreaming about having a class full of very motivated students, always focused, and the lessons that we are teaching them. Perhaps we also dreamed about having a class of students that already do their homework and perfect tests and so on. But how often does it happen? I mean, I know it was my case at the beginning, but that was like 17 years ago. So, well, generation after generation, the students started to change a lot. And well, I'm sure that we all have seen that it's definitely not so easy to approach them anymore, not so easy to motivate them. And well, we have to adapt and to teach not only the smart and motivated students, but also the not so smart ones or not so motivated. And many of them have different needs, special needs, or just, I don't know, they don't focus enough. Well, as you know, every child is different and we need to approach every one of them. So we have to continue to find new venues to offer, I don't know, a variety of different methods and new challenges. We have to push them all the time, and you know, as educators, sometimes we also have to get out a little bit about from our comfort zone and to push the students as well to exceed their limits and to develop, continue to become better. And you know, it has to be done because education in the traditional way, the one that we have been students, you know, many years ago, it doesn't change really that much. I mean, some of us as teacher, we use new approaches, new methods, we use ICT, and I don't know, we try to change everything, but you know, some of the more older teachers, they just keep on using the same approaches 30, 50 years ago, and we have to make everything possible to change that. So why we should do that? Well, because the students have changed. When we keep complaining about the fact that they are not focused, and that when we were students, we were always paying attention and so on, there wasn't really not that much distractions, you know. Right now we have students that have they're like bound with information from all over the place, social media, television, internet, their phones, their iPads, and so on. So there's so much information available everywhere, and we can't expect that just going in front of the blackboard would work. We have to make changes, and you know, I remember that you know, we think that this flipped classroom is something new, but it's really not. I was a high school student, so really ages ago, and my literature teacher, he wasn't a big fan of traditional learning. He always find new ways of teaching us, and I remember that he was the first one that actually used the flipped classroom. I didn't know what it was back then, but that was it. So instead of him introducing the lesson to us, or a new book, or a new, I don't know, poetry or story, he didn't do that, never. He just told us, well, you have to go through this book. I don't know, you have 2 weeks, let's say. And then after we finished reading the book, we would just go in the classroom and have debates among us, and conversation, why a character was better than another and stuff like that. And we had no idea that was flipped learning, but that was it. So I know it sounds so easy for literature teaching, but it really can be applied to as many topics as we think it's necessary, because it's something that can be done, and it's just a way of moving the emphasis from you as a teacher being in the center of attention to giving let's say the scene to the students, and they should be really active in the teaching, because it makes them more aware about the role, and it will really help them to have the possibility to ask more questions, to answer to themselves, and to become, you know, self-empowered, and to give them the ability to learn on their own as much as possible. So let's go to the next slide, and to see a little bit why I explained that the students are different. You know, for people that were born really long time ago, the baby boomers, you know, they were so optimist and team oriented, and they really cared a lot about personal growth, and of course and about work and involvement. So it was, of course, different to be teaching to them. And then we have the generation X, for people born between 65 and 77, and also people with core values such as diversity, thinking globally, balance, and so on. And then we have the other generation that was born before 2000, and for them it was a bit more different, because yeah, they learned a lot about diversity. They also were optimistic, but you know, there were the attacks, the terrorism, and their morality changed a little bit. And now we have, of course, the millennials, and these are our today's students, and they grew up from the beginning with internet. They are, you know, digital natives. I mean, my 4-year-old daughter, she can do so many tasks using the phone or the tablet. of course, we weren't able back then. And I'm happy that some of the applications existing are really educational, so she can practice the letters, she can practice the numbers and so on. So some of them are good, but of course we have to worry a lot about the screen time. So we are teaching to these kids, and as I said before, they are bound with a lot of information and they expect to learn things really quickly, and they lose their patience. And they are so technical, and when they see a teacher that just goes to the blackboard, takes the chalk and starts to write, they don't have the patience. I mean, they most likely lose their patience after 2-3 minutes, and we expect them to stay there and be patient and pay attention to whatever we are teaching for, like, I don't know, maybe we have a lecture that lasts like 20 minutes. That's really a lot. So as I said, we have to adapt and to see that we don't have the same students as teachers had like 20 years ago. So we must progress it as well and adapt a little bit. My next slide is about the educational paradigms. It's a presentation that's focused after a speech given by a really smart man. I'm gonna play it right now, and then we can discuss a little bit about it.
No sound, Johanna.
Sorry? There's no sound?
Yeah, no sound.
Now?
No, we can't hear. On the top, there is something, there's more. Click that, and then you will see share sound. You must click that.
If I find it.
You can send me the link. I can show.
And I found it. I found it. Thank you.
Okay.
Does it work?
Every country on earth at the moment is reforming public education. There are two reasons for it. The first of them is economic. People are trying to work out, how do we educate our children to take their place in the economies of the 21st century? How do we do that, given that we can't anticipate what the economy will look like at the end of next week, as the recent turmoil is demonstrating? How do we do that? The second, though, is cultural. Every country on earth is trying to figure out, how do we educate our children so they have a sense of cultural identity and so that we can pass on the cultural genes of our communities while being part of the process of globalization? How do we square that circle? The problem is they're trying to meet the future by doing what they did in the past. And on the way, they're alienating millions of kids who don't see any purpose in going to school. When we went to school, we were kept there with a story, which was if you worked hard and did well and got a college degree, you would have a job. Our kids don't believe that. And they're right not to, by the way. You're better having a degree than not, but it's not a guarantee anymore. And particularly not if the route to it marginalizes most of the things that you think are important about yourself. Some people say we have to raise standards as if this is a breakthrough. You know, like, really, yes, we should. Why would you lower them? You know, I mean, I haven't come across an argument that persuades me of lowering them. But raising them, of course we should raise them. The problem is that the current system of education was designed and conceived and structured for a different age. It was conceived in the intellectual culture of the Enlightenment and in the economic circumstances of the Industrial Revolution. Before the middle of the 19th century, there were no systems of public education. Not really. I mean, you could get educated by Jesuits, you know, if you had the money. But public education, paid for from taxation, compulsory to everybody and free at the point of delivery, that was a revolutionary idea. And many people objected to it. They said it's not possible for many street kids, working class children, to benefit from public education. They're incapable of learning to read and write, and why are we spending time on this? So there's also built into it a whole series of assumptions about social structure and capacity. It was driven by an economic imperative of the time, but running right through it was an intellectual model of the mind, which was essentially the Enlightenment view of intelligence. That real intelligence consists in the capacity for a certain type of deductive reasoning and a knowledge of the classics originally, what we come to think of as academic ability. And this is deep in the gene pool of public education, that there are really two types of people, academic and non-academic, smart people and non-smart people. And the consequence of that is that many brilliant people think they're not, because they've been judged against this particular view of the mind. So we have twin pillars, economic and intellectual. And my view is that this model has caused chaos in many people's lives. It's been great for some. There have been people who have benefited wonderfully from it. But most people have not. Instead, they suffer this. This is the modern epidemic, and it's as misplaced and it's as fictitious. This is the plague of ADHD. Now, this is a map of the incidence of ADHD in America, or prescriptions for ADHD. Don't mistake me here. I don't mean to say there is no such thing as attention deficit disorder. I'm not qualified to say if there is such a thing. I know that a great majority of psychologists and paediatricians think there is such a thing. But it's still a matter of debate. What I do know for a fact is it's not an epidemic. These kids are being medicated as routinely as we had our tonsils taken out, and on the same whimsical basis and for the same reason, medical fashion. Our children are living in the most intensely stimulating period in the history of the earth. They're being besieged with information and calls for their attention from every platform, computers, from iPhones, from advertising holdings, from hundreds of television channels. And we're penalising them now for getting distracted. From what? Boring stuff at school, for the most part. It seems to me it's not a coincidence, totally, that the incidence of ADHD has risen in parallel with the growth of standardised testing. Now, these kids are being given Ritalin and Adderall and all manner of things, often quite dangerous drugs, to get them focused and calm them down. But according to this, attention deficit disorder increases as you travel east across the country. People start losing interest in Oklahoma. They can hardly think straight in Arkansas. And by the time they get to Washington, they've lost it completely. And there are separate reasons for that, I believe. It's a fictitious epidemic. If you think of it, the arts, and I don't say this exclusively of the arts, I think it's also true of science and of maths, but I say about the arts particularly because they are the victims of this mentality currently, particularly. The arts especially address the idea of aesthetic experience. An aesthetic experience is one in which your senses are operating at their peak, when you're present in the current moment, when you're resonating with the excitement of this thing that you're experiencing, when you are fully alive. An anesthetic is when you shut your senses off and deaden yourself to what's happening. And a lot of these drugs are that. We're getting our children through education by anaesthetizing them. And I think we should be doing the exact opposite. We shouldn't be putting them asleep. We should be waking them up to what they have inside of themselves. But the model we have is this. I believe we have a system of education that is modelled on the interests of industrialism and in the image of it. I'll give you a couple of examples. Schools are still pretty much organised on factory lines, ringing bells, separate facilities, specialised into separate subjects. We still educate children by batches. We put them through the system by age group. Why do we do that? Why is there this assumption that the most important thing kids have in common is how old they are? It's like the most important thing about them is their date of manufacture. You know what I mean? Well, I know kids who are much better than other kids at the same age in different disciplines, or at different times of the day, or better in smaller groups than in large groups, or sometimes they want to be on their own. If you're interested in the model of learning, you don't start from this production line mentality. It's essentially about conformity, and increasingly it's about that as you look at the growth of standardized testing and standardized curricula. And it's about standardization. I believe we've got to go in the exact opposite direction. That's what I mean about changing the paradigm. There was a great study done recently of divergent thinking. Published a couple of years ago. Divergent thinking isn't the same thing as creativity. I define creativity as the process of having original ideas that have value. Divergent thinking isn't a synonym, but it's an essential capacity for creativity. It's the ability to see lots of possible answers to a question, lots of possible ways of interpreting a question, to think what Edward de Bono would probably call laterally, to think not just in linear or convergent ways, to see multiple answers, not one. So, I mean, there are tests for this. I mean, one kind of cod example would be people might be asked to say, how many uses can you think of for a paperclip? One of those routine questions. Most people might come up with 10 or 15. People who are good at this might come up with 200. And they do that by saying, well, could the paperclip be 200 foot tall and be made out of foam rubber? You know, like, does it have to be a paperclip as we know it, Jim? You know. Now, there are tests for this, and they gave them to 1,500 people. This is in a book called Breakpoint and Beyond. And on the protocol of the test, if you scored above a certain level, you'd be considered to be a genius at divergent thinking. Okay? So my question to you is, what percentage of the people tested, of the 1,500, scored at genius level for divergent thinking? Now, you need to know one more thing about them. These were kindergarten children. So what do you think? What percentage at genius level? 80. 80, okay. 98%. Now, the thing about this was it was a longitudinal study. So they retested the same children 5 years later, ages of 8 to 10. What do you think? 50? They retested them again 5 years later, ages 13 to 15. You can see a trend here, can't you? Now, this tells an interesting story, because you could have imagined it going the other way, couldn't you? You start off not being very good, but you get better as you get older. But this shows two things. One is we all have this capacity, and two, it mostly deteriorates. Now, a lot of things have happened to these kids as they've grown up. A lot. But one of the most important things that happened, and I'm convinced, is that by now they've become educated. You know, they've spent 10 years at school being told there's one answer, it's at the back. And don't look. And don't copy, because that's cheating. I mean, outside schools, that's called collaboration, you know, but inside schools. Now, this isn't because teachers want it this way, it's just because it happens that way. It's because it's in the gene pool of education. We have to think differently about human capacity. We have to get over this old conception of academic, non-academic, abstract, theoretical, vocational, and see it for what it is, a myth. Secondly, we have to recognise that most great learning happens in groups, that collaboration is the stuff of growth. If we atomise people and separate them and judge them separately, we form a kind of disjunction between them and their natural learning environment. And thirdly, it's crucially about the culture of our institutions, the habits of the institution and the habitats that they occupy.
Yeah, so I think it was a really interesting movie, but well, that's my opinion. If you're interested, just look for this, and you can watch the entire speech, because that was just a portion of it that was put together in this presentation, but you can watch the entire thing. It's a really, really, really interesting speech given by an expert in the field. So now, if you, just like me, you have the feeling that your students aren't actually learning, but they're just memorizing some things, and they are not able to make all the connections that you would like them to be, then I think most of teachers have this feeling. Then it's time to make a change, and it's time to choose the flipped classroom, which of course it's not fixed, but it helps a lot. basically you will have to stop doing the lecture that you are so used to doing at the beginning of the class. So instead of that, just give it as an assignment, an assignment to your students. Ask them to look at a video, or to read something, or maybe to listen to a podcast or something like that. And then you will have lots of classroom time to clarify their questions, or to, I don't know, to debate, to do meaningful thinking, for laboratory experiments, or practice, stuff like that. So instead of just telling them all the time what to do and how to do, just begin this process of facilitating their learning. It's gonna help a lot. So let's see in this slide the basic principles of the flipped classroom, and it's just basically a change. If in the traditional classroom you start with the lecture and then a little bit of practice, everything in the flipped classroom, it's done differently. So everything that you normally do in the class, they should do at home, and vice versa. So as I said, this method, it's really not a magic bullet, but it does help a lot the students, and it will take a lot of time from you, of course, because you have to prepare your videos, and if you're not, I don't know, so confident that you can edit nice videos, then just look online, because there are plenty of interesting videos made available by other teachers or by experts in the field that you can share with your students. Most of them have subtitles that can be translated in any language. So use that and send them to your students. And then in the classroom time, imagine that you don't have to allow, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes for your lecture. You will have the entire time, so 50 minutes or 1 hour, depends on the country you're in, and you will use that to practice more exercises with them, to clarify their questions, give them time to ask questions. And at the beginning they might be, I don't know, embarrassed to ask, because that's what usually happens. But there's always a possibility. You can make a forum or ask them to write their questions in a bowl, maybe, and paper, and then just put them anonymously, or they can write them on the blackboard without stating who student asked what, or I don't know, send a message, an email. There's so many possibilities of giving them the freedom to ask the questions under the privacy of anonymity. And then don't answer them immediately. Ask the other kids, because maybe another kid will have the answer to their questions. And by allowing them to express themselves a lot, it will help them gain confidence that they can ask each other and help each other in the process of learning. And you know, we need a good pedagogy to try this approach, but you know, we have plenty of time to try it, and it's not going to be perfect the first time, because it doesn't only need commitment from the teacher, but also from the students. Basically, if they don't read whatever you assign them, or don't watch the video that you send them, then the entire thing in the classroom is going to be a mess. So just explain to them that it's very important for them to do the assignment, and that's going to be basically their homework. And then enjoy the extra time you have in the classroom with them. Here's a quote from Chris Faulkner, that it's basically sharing my concerns. You know, it's not as simple as just sending them a video for them to, or transfer your speech into a lecture, and then ask them to write papers or just fill out some worksheets during the class. As I said, it's not that. You have to make the change to be worth it, you know, to give them learning opportunities and focus on problem solving and I don't know, working collaboratively in the classroom, so that they would have more time to practice what they need in the real life. Because, you know, sometimes we have really smart students and they are really bad to work in teams. And maybe that's good at school, you know, because they can be successful, they can have high grades and I don't know, be the best in the class and so on, and have great SAT results, and then graduate a college, and they will just end up with a diploma with no real value. Because when you go to work, you actually need to work in a team, and today's employers, for them it's very, very important to have kids that are able to think critically, to work in teams, and these are the qualities that we should transfer to our students. Okay. As I said, it's not just one way of doing the flipped classroom. There are many ways, and you don't have to think that you always have to do your videos. As I said, there are plenty of them available, and I would especially recommend Khan Academy, which is a really, really good resource for flipped classroom. And of course, it's going to take a lot of time for you to see what parts are good for the content, or which ones, I don't know, are fitted for a certain class and not for another, because as I said before, all students are different. So you have to pay attention to provide them enough information to, you know, light that to lighten that bulb in their head and to spark ideas into them. And sometimes you might maybe provide different choices for videos. Let's say that you're teaching a lesson, it can be chemistry or something else, and maybe some students are very interested in that topic and they want to learn more. So you can choose a video that is very deep and it has a lot of information, and you can choose others that are not so deep, but are, you know, more suitable for kids that don't really have that all that experience, or they're really not so interested. So just find a way to reach all of your students. And the benefits of the flipped classroom is that, you know, they can pause and they can rewind the video and watch it again whenever they have I don't know, something that they don't understand. And of course, after that, after them watching the video, allow them time to ask you questions, and you should provide them feedback. Maybe they want to find out more, so have some other resources prepared for them. Maybe they didn't understand something, so again, try to clarify their misunderstandings or whatever it is, and find a way to engage them during the videos. Not just, they shouldn't just listen, you know. Try to follow up with some questions or some discussions or stuff like that. It's very important for them to understand that it's not just viewing something but understanding the concept. Okay. As I said, really excellent resources to get deeper into this. Besides the Khan Academy, you can try this John Bergman and Aaron Sam's Flip Your Classroom. It's an excellent resource. Of course, that, you know, using technology, it's going to give your students the control of their interactions. So they will need to further review some parts, or I don't know, they can also look for, use the forum in your e-learning platforms to ask each other, or to write directly to you if they have a particular question. Of course, there's also problems in this approach. We don't always know what to do with the extra time, right? We don't have the time allocated to the lecture. So what should we do with it? We have to find things that makes the changes considerably better, and then we should think about how to take control, to give the control to the learners from you, because in the flipped classroom, the control of the learning should be in the power of in the hands of the students, let's say like that. They should understand how to learn better, and you will just facilitate their learning. You will be like a coach for them. So that's something that we have to take into consideration. And as I said, there are different ways of approaching this thing. And after they explore the concept during the videos, or the audio lectures, or I don't know, the text that you're giving them to read, they have the possibility mentioned before to chat a little bit online with you or the other students. And then in the classroom, make sure that you have enough time to clarify whatever they have learned. So don't just jump into the practice. Try to engage them into conversation, into debates, ask them their opinions about what they have learned. Of course, always try to see if they have issues that they didn't understood very well, and then make sure that you apply the knowledge that they have acquired online in the classroom. So give them time to work on things and some tasks. Also give them time to present. The presentation part, it's very essential for the learning, and it gives them confidence that they are better, and the other students also can learn from the practice. It's one thing that it's really nice is that I don't know, some of you probably have seen the future classroom setting. It's different. It's allowing you to put the students into groups and make sure that you don't assign the same task to the same group. So each group should focus on something different. They should have a different assignment, so that when it's time for them to present, they will each learn from the other groups instead of having the same presentations. Also use games, use simulations, do experiments, projects. You can use connecting activities, so try to make things interdisciplinary. You can use, I don't know, arts as well. You know, if they study something, you can use storytelling, and they can put it as a, I don't know, you know, create storybooks and comic books and so on. So the possibilities are really endless. We should make the best of it. A quick comparison, just to make sure that everybody understood. If in the traditional classroom we started with the warm-up activity and then go over the homeworks and then make the lecture, and then some time to guided or independent practice. In the flipped classroom, we again start with the warm-up. This one should always be kept, and then we have time for questions and answers and the videos or whatever you send them as homework, and then you should have the practice and lab or whatever activity you have in mind. So as you can see, there's far more time, you know, instead of 10 or 15 minutes, we have 35 minutes for them to practice something. And that's very important, at least for me as a math teacher. I think that's the most important part in the lesson. And if I'm using the traditional learning, well, then I have just a little bit of time, and usually just enough time to make 1 or 2 problems instead of doing more, and having the possibility to go deep into the topic and I don't know, maybe do some complicated theorems or stuff like that. Okay. Let's see, why should we change? Do you think it's something that you would do? You can enable your microphones and try to answer a little bit. I know that when I changed, I thought that it was something that was beneficial for my students. And I know that it helps the ones that are busy. It also helps the students that are, I don't know, missing school time for some reasons. It can happen. Maybe they are sick. Maybe they, I don't know, for some reason they can't attend the lessons. And in this way, they can watch the lecture when they are at home. And another important thing is that it gives more time for the student and teacher interaction. And it's also allowing the teacher to know the student better. And that's something very important. And I don't know, I would like to listen to your opinion as well.
Yeah, I think one of the extra benefits from this method is to differentiate, because by the time they come to class and they start doing exercises, you get a clear image of who knows what and how they've understood what you've explained in the video. And it really allows you to go forward with that and to know who is onto everything and who can do more difficult exercises and who are the students that need extra help and need your guidance, while the others could continue independently, and that really saves a lot of time and makes it more efficient.
Yeah, thank you. Indeed, that's a good point. And yeah, Rasha, you can speak.
She has to leave. She just noticed me.
Okay. I thought
she was just waving a hand to me.
Share her opinion and
I can share my opinion. I think the most important benefit of it is students can listen, can watch it many times, because most of the students in our classes, we can just make them watch once, not twice, not 3 times, but just the most intelligent ones get it. But at home, they can watch and repeat it, and they can watch whenever they want. It's another benefit. That's my idea.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. We have, for instance, a lot of students that have to commute from their homes to their school. Maybe they sit on a bus or on a train for 1 hour or more on their way to school every day. So it gives them the time, you know, they can always plug in their earrings and listen to whatever you send them, and have you know, a very fresh idea and knowledge before the lesson. And then, as Yoke said, it's very important to allow them to ask the questions and clarify everything. Okay, so basically, these are, let's say, the reason why you should choose the flipped classroom. Now, why you shouldn't change? Well, you shouldn't change just because you think it's something new, and you shouldn't change because it's something easier, because usually it's really not easier, it's actually more complicated. You will have to be a little bit scared because you will never know whatever questions they will have for you in the lesson, and you have to be ready. You also have to be prepared to have lots of entertaining activities for them. As I said, use group work, use collaboration between them, allow them to interact, to organize debates on different topics that you have. And if it's math related or science related, then have a lot of experiments and a lot of practice ready for them in the classroom. You also don't have to do it because everybody's doing it. Not everybody's doing it, but it's really beneficial. But the idea is that a change towards flipped classroom because you think it's good and because you want your students to be, I don't know, self-teachable. They should learn how to learn. That's the most important thing. There's here a brief movie, but I will send you the link for you to watch. There's no need to watch it now. Just a quick overview of Khan Academy as a resource. On this slide, I have other tools that I think are really good for flipped classroom. I think everybody already knows Kahoot. We use it in many ways, and it has become better and better by time. They are now collaborating with different other apps that are embedded in the Kahoot platform. It's going to be like a Kahoot Academy or something like that. So feel free to try it. Log in as a teacher, and there will be plenty of possibilities for you. You can create your own or use the existing ones, and then just try to change them for whatever you need. Below it, we have Padlet. We have used it at the beginning of our workshop. It can be used in many ways, and of course, in the flipped classroom, you can use it for the group's presentations or for them to ask questions, or I don't know, in many ways. It's easy to use. You just make the accounts and create the Padlet and then share it with your students. They will be able to add their thoughts without having to make an account. And the other part, we have, of course, GeoGebra, which is very important resource for mathematics, physics, chemistry. We have Google Classroom. Well, many of us, I think, use it for the remote learning. What else? We have Edpuzzle. It's also very useful, and you can create educational videos with the help of it. We have also Screencastify, which will enable you to broadcast from your screen and put voiceover in order to create a movie. We have quizzes. It's also very important, and it's good for formative assessment. Book widgets, it's also very good. It's good for making interactive lessons, and I know that there are many others which you can, but I think these are the most important ones, and most of them are free, of course. That's another thing we have to take into account. I know other good resources, but they need to be paid for, and it depends on the schools. But I don't know, 20 euros per student, I think it's a lot for some apps. Okay, let's see what's next. The most important thing is for you to make a commitment to change, and then you can join our group or project, maybe, Bahar. I think we can have other participants in our e-twinning project if they want to have access to our resources. because we have already a collection of interesting lesson plans regarding flipped classroom. We all uploaded there some, so they're, I think, really good and useful for people to watch. They should learn more about the flipping. You know, there's the good, there's the bad, and there's also the ugly. Feel free to get deep into it. Read as many resources as you want, and then try to develop your first class. It can be with a video that you make your own, or a one that you are choosing from YouTube or TED or Khan Academy or whatever, and then try to use it in your classroom. It's not going to be perfect the first time, but ask your students how they would what they would like to be different, if they thought the movies or the content that you sent to them, maybe it was too difficult, maybe it was too easy. Always ask for feedback from your students and then make it better for the next one. And if you're making your own videos, don't think it's going to be, you know, a very hard work. Think about the fact that you will be able to use it for the next classroom and the next and the next and next years as well. So I remember 1 year I had like 4 classes, you know, from the same grade, fifth grade, and by the time I would end up teaching to the 3rd class, I was really bored with the topic. And I think it happens to everyone when you have to repeat a lesson so many times. So with a flipped classroom, you only have to do it once, right? So that's the good part in it. Now, I don't know, if you have questions or you want more information, feel free to ask. You can write, I don't know, by email, you can chat, or on WhatsApp or whatever. I would be happy to provide more information if needed. Thank you for your time. I don't know, I mean, I was really nervous. I'm missing the practice of speaking in English, so I know that I probably bubbled a lot, but well, except from the English teachers, I think the others, we miss the interaction from our meetings. So it would be great to have a quick feedback from you. I'm gonna share, just a second. There's a Menti prepared for you. I'm never forgetting about that. So if you have time, just go on Menti, use the code on the screen, and then just quickly answer, you know, just put 3 of your impressions about today's well, workshop, webinar, whatever. Whether you enjoyed it, whether you wanted something more, or I don't know. And thank you again. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, I'm gonna try tell you something in English. I'm gonna try. So
okay, Marco.
I'm so sorry for not sharing my opinion, because I can do it in English, but I understand you, and I'm absolutely agree. I have 2 essential questions when I'm teaching. It is the relationship with teacher and the students. We must really love our students and respect the differences. Okay, and then we must explore the students' motivations. I don't know if you understand me.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I really love your presentation. Congratulations. I really learned with you today. Thank you.
Thank you for giving your time and for being with us today. And I'm happy if I was able to give you some ideas about the flipped classroom. As I said, it's a difficult topic, I would say. It's something that you can't really learn in 1 hour, but there are so many resources and you can always learn more, of course. And yeah, in our eTwinning platform, we've got a lot of information about this and a lot of lesson plans that we can use and learn from each other.
Johanna, there was a question. You talked about an app, a program.
Which one?
Which you used in your math class.
GeoGebra?
GeoGebra.
Yeah.
Someone asked that. What's the name of the program? GeoGebra. Okay.
Yes.
GeoGebra. Am I right? GeoGebra. Did I write wrong?
Yes, GeoGebra.
Okay.
It's free to use and it already has lots of examples, and you can of course adapt them. And for physics, for instance, you can allow your students to change the variables, and then they will be able to see how the things are shifting from one way to another. It's the same for math lessons. They can let's say increase the length of one of the angles, let's say, and see how the area is shifting, or the length of the sides of a figure, and of course to observe different things. And you can use it to plot graphs and for functions and lots of it's really useful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And do you have any suggestions for Web2 tools for using Flipgrid? Not Flipgrid, Flipping Classroom. For example, Edpuzzle is very useful as far as I know. Playpod
Yes.
is also very useful.
You can use many. I mean, right now it's very easy to share the content with our students, because thanks to the COVID, all schools have e-learning platforms. So sharing something with your students is something really easy to do. Just allow them the possibility afterwards to ask some kind of questions, and then provide them other, like mini lectures that are extra for the students that have questions, maybe, as I said before, because they want to get a deeper understanding of the concept, or for other reasons. And also use the forum that you have there. And if you don't have a forum, I'm sure that you have the messaging the entire class possibility, or you can create your own forum, or use a Padlet like we have used at the beginning of our workshop, for them to ask you the questions, or for another reason. So the apps can be different that we use, and the best resources, as I said, like for lectures, are CAD Academy, so many of them, and also TED speeches, and it can even be different. Bahar, you're also a scientific ambassador, so you already know about the possibility to Skype with a scientist. We've had this experience a few weeks ago. We've chatted with an expert from Canada on the topic of energy, and it was really interesting. She gave a really brief explanation. We had some videos sent from her in advance, and we forwarded it to our students, and then they were able to engage into really deep questioning with the expert. I, as a teacher, I wouldn't know to answer all these questions, but if we have an expert, she was an engineer, an environmental engineer with a PhD and the topic. So of course she was able to go really, really deep in the topic and answer our students' questions. So we can use that. We can also invite experts from our country if we are afraid that our students' understanding and a concept, it's according to their English knowledge. But we have plenty of experts that I'm sure would be happy to jump into our lessons. So we can also use that instead of giving a plain lecture in front of the classroom, which would be, as we all know, quite boring for the students we have today. So we have to make things very interesting. And let's say we have a lesson about physics. Imagine that you can be teaching something, I don't know, about molecules and stuff like that. And I don't know, it can be about nuclear physics. And when you give the lecture, it can be quite boring. But if you use maybe a video provided by something that has access to a very spectacular apps to create movies, they can make it more, I don't know, more attractive for our students, because they can embed in that lecture an experiment. They can have a deeper view and the concept that you are trying to teach. So it would be something that you have to admit that as a teacher you cannot provide to your students, especially now. I don't know how it's in your countries, but we in Romania, we are teaching remotely for a long time. And even if we are at school, we are not allowed to use the laboratory settings, because we are not allowed to pass objects from one to another. So laboratory are off limits. So that's quite not good, let's say, for the students. If you're teaching dilatation of an object, how can you just, without showing them that if you put more weight, it will extend longer? Or if you're trying to do an experiment that you can't do, students will not have, a deep understanding of the topic. So using these lectures provided by people with more ICT knowledge than us, or with better tools. Sometimes you just need a better tool, and we know that most of them require paying in order to have deep access to them, and we can't afford to buy all the tools that we would like to do. So just be thankful that someone else created an educational video and you can use it. As mentioned before, most of them have subtitles. If they don't, you can create or add your own subtitles to it, and make sure that your students really understand what you're showing them. So
Okay.
that would be it.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really, it was great. And we really learned a lot. Is there anyone who has question? Marco is going. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Marco.
If you don't have, we can also finish it. Johanna, I really thank you. It was great.
And thank you too for having the idea to organize it. It was, something that we have to replace with face-to-face.
Yeah. And I send my love and my missing words to all my partners. Okay, we will talk again, and kisses, and take care. Be safe.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.